Hey there, welcome to Concept Hunter. Today we're going to talk about FRVR, which is FRVR on caps lock. And it seems like they take all kinds of traditional or old games, simple games, and they put their own spin on them. They did Solitaire Fervor, if I'm not mistaken, and in this case it's called FRVR, and I believe I saw Hexagon being mentioned, which is a game that I really love, a very old game that I really adore as a kid. So what do you do in FRVR? It kind of reminds you a little bit of Tetris, but it has quite a lot of different rules, and it's much more of a puzzle game than a reaction-based game. And Tetris is it has a timer, you have gravity. So what you do here is you have this grid, it's always the same grid, you have a big score at the top, there's no timers or anything whatsoever, you can think as much as you want, and you have three shapes. These shapes are almost always 4 hexes, but sometimes you've got the special shape of just 1 hex that's meant to kind of help you out. And you fill out the board. When you place anything on the board, you immediately get points for it. The lose condition is when all 3 shapes that you have here, you can't place any one of them because they simply don't fit in any way whatsoever. So clearly I can't put it over something else. You want the shapes to always fit on the board. If nothing fits, you lose. So how do you clear things off the board? And that's really the special part here. Any row from any one side of this hex, this big hex board, to any other side, any row, vertical, horizontal, doesn't matter, it'll clear it up and give you points for it. So what happens as you play along is that because you really fill out in any row as possible, you kind of get very interesting gaps. And only once you really start playing a little bit, you starting to get a feel for how these gaps are formed and what you have to do to counteract them and how you can keep on playing without having too many crazy gaps in there. This board is not that big, which is actually a really good thing. You don't want too much of a possibility space because then it can completely overcrowd you. But for instance, I could put this over here, and then there's this clear, and now this is kind of a tricky little hole that I've got here. Luckily I do have the one and I can clear this up, but you can already start seeing how these really weird holes start forming. And an interesting decision that they made here was really to give you 3 shapes at all time, but to not show you what's going to come in forward. So you just have 3 shapes and you can pick whatever you want, and you can also keep them, you can also save them a little bit. It creates an interesting dynamic here that sometimes you want to keep a specific part, specifically the one hex might be a good thing to keep. And it really, the way that the game flows and moves forward, which you can really only start talking about and only start feeling once you play this, so I really recommend that you just go up and play this in order to get a feel for it. It's really interesting. It's really cool. I'm unsure if you get combos for doing a couple of rows at the same time. It seems like you just get points. I'm not really sure. But it doesn't really matter. The point is just to survive as much as possible, and I'm not really trying to think about points. I'm just trying to think about survival. And whatever points I manage to get, that'd be pretty cool. I'm not actually showing you my best, which I think is good because I haven't played this enough and I don't feel that the best is that great. I don't really care though. It is a couple thousand, and you see just by playing randomly, not really paying too much attention, I already reached 1,000. So if you can get to 5 digits, this means you're pretty good, I feel. But I'm positive that there's already people with 6 digits and maybe even 7 digits, because some people are really crazy for these type of games. So I put this over here, for example, and now I'm kind of stuck. Unless I clear anything, I can only use the 1 hex. And I think that allowing for that 1 hex is really important because it really helps out, and it's a very valuable shape that you want to kind of have and try and keep it until you really need it. For example, I just completely screwed myself over because I'm not really paying attention to what I'm doing, and that didn't even clear, so that was kind of a really bad couple of moves. But I'm really not I'm talking and not really trying to play too much. There's not much more to say about this game. I think the design is really clever. I think it's a really cool puzzle game that I can, even me, and I don't love puzzle games, and I don't, of this type that you just keep on playing, I find myself actually kind of playing it and wanting to try it again once I screw up sufficiently, and trying to figure it out a little bit and get a feel for how to what shapes can I get, and how do I, and what's the chances for me to get a specific type of shape so that I could get a better feeling for the game and get better scores. And that's it. There's not much more to say about this. It's great. You should check it out. It's called Hex Fervor. It's by Benjamin Sin. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching Concept Hunter, and I'll see you guys next time.